And she was wearing, you know, some of the outfits that she was wearing, I'm just like, Stella would never. Hi guys, welcome back to the Shannon Show. Hello if you're new. So today's video is going to be me reviewing the costume on Fate the Winx Club saga, which just dropped on Netflix. I hope everybody is doing as well as can be, and I really do hope everybody is being as proactive as possible in supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. And if you're still on the lookout for some resources, I've linked some in the description. Feel free to comment down below your thoughts on my commentary. I'm always up for a chat, I'm always up for a debate. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you didn't, give it a dislike. No hard feelings. And if you really, really like this video, consider subscribing and helping your girl out. So obviously Netflix's Winx Club has dropped. And I feel like even before it dropped, in terms of the trailer, a lot of talk was surrounded around the outfits and how people felt that they were a bit basic, going off the promotional images that were provided. I was also one of those people. I have made a video on it if you do want to check it out after this one. And I was a bit disappointed because obviously when you are making an adaptation of a show, everybody is going to go back to the source material. And the source material, which was the animated Winx Club, was known for its iconic fashion sense. It had bespoke fashion in it. They even had designers in it. So everybody was looking forward to the fashion. So when the fashion seemingly didn't deliver, of course people were going to talk about it. Some people were kind of optimistic that maybe it was going to get better throughout the season. I personally didn't think it did, and I'm going to talk about it. Yeah, just to put a disclaimer out there, I do not identify as a fashion girl. I am not a Mua by any means, just my opinion. Some of you might think that I have a lot of nerve making this video, and I just want to tell you guys that yes, I do have a lot of nerve. That's just who I am. But like I said, feel free to disagree with me in the comments. So obviously it's very hard not to look to the source material in an adaptation. So obviously going by the source material, we had kind of Y2K fashion, and a lot of people, including myself, were confused that wasn't integrated, seeing that it's kind of coming back into fashion. But even so, if they wanted to have a contemporary 2020-esque fashion sense, even still, I feel like the fashion that was provided still didn't really make the cut, considering that fashion was such a big part of the Winx Club franchise. And it wasn't just the outfits. I had an issue with some of the hair and the makeup as well. So in terms of the costume overall, obviously the first thing let's talk about is the outfits. I think overall across the board, they were basic outfits. I don't think necessarily they were horrible. I think on average, they were basic outfits. Some of them were on the fashionable side, some of them weren't. I feel like the worst thing I think that I saw was the athletic get-up that they had Aisha in. It was like a varsity jacket, and then it had studs on it, and it just looked like and it kind of reminded me of the Hannah Montana fashion collection. I don't know if any of you picked up the Hannah Montana fashion collection. I did pick up a few pieces. I was looking a mess, girl. I was looking a mess in 2010. I was looking a mess in 2010, girl. But it kind of reminded me of that. So that's probably the worst thing that I saw. It was just very confusing to me. I'm not sure who would pick that for her and why they would pick that for her. Overall, it was acceptable. Like, there were bits and pieces, like say there was a jumper that looked nice. Like for instance, sometimes say Musa would have a nice jumper, but the outfit assemble could have been better. So I feel like for Bloom, her outfit was just very basic fashion. She seemed to be in a leather jacket all the time. Like, she just loved leather jackets. It was giving me heavy 2012-ish, you know, when the Topshop leather jacket was popping. I know you know about the Topshop. I know if you live in the UK, I know you know about the Topshop leather jacket. I had the Topshop leather jacket, and I had some good times in that leather jacket, but it was just very 2012 for me, and I wanted to see her in something different. I guess we kind of did near the end. I wanted to see Bloom in something different, to be honest. Her fashion range was just a bit basic. Musa, I feel like with Musa, it was very hit and miss. Sometimes she'd have an okay outfit, and then the next she would just be wearing a bomber jacket with really bad contrasting to just some random top, and it didn't really look that nice. Tara, she kind of was just wearing very youthful on her, which kind of contrasted with the way that she looked. I feel like I should have given her a more mature look, because it kind of looked a bit discombobulating that this is clearly like someone in their mid-20s but almost as like a little girl. There were sometimes when she was wearing like a flowy floral dress and that looked fine, but I feel like the whole pinafore get up with the cardigan and the hoodie and then the kind of uniform mature hairstyle was a bit discombobulating to me. I feel like Aisha, there was some instances where she was wearing like a basic floral dress that looked nice, but then some of the athletic get-ups that they had her in just looked very plasticky and very cheap at times. I wish that they gave Aisha better outfits. But what was the biggest disappointment for me was Stella, and it's something that I just could not understand because she was meant to be a princess. If they didn't make her a princess in this series, fine. I could excuse the basic outfits. But the fact that she was a princess and she was wearing, you know, some of the outfits that she was wearing, I'm just like, Stella would never, and a princess would never. And the thing that, you know, a part of her storyline is that she had to be looking good all the time. And she's like, I have to be looking good all the time. And then you'd see her in a misguided outfit. Like, they didn't even buy her Zara. This was a fully, like, misguided Pretty Little Thing. Like, I know them Pretty Little Thing misguided buttons when I see them, girl, Shaddy, because I'm still on a budget, Shaddy. This other outfit where it could have been cute, but they just gave her this PVC cheap-looking jacket. And I'm just like, why don't you just give her a nice, you know, tailored jacket? Like, you could easily find that from a thrift store. Why would you give her this cheap looking jacket and she's meant to be a princess? It was just very discombobulating for me. So Stella's fashion sense pretty much annoyed me. I feel like they tried to make the most effort with her, but again, it just looked like fast fashion pieces put together. It did not look regal, it didn't look royal, it didn't look high class, it didn't look expensive. It just looked like misguided. The only time that she looked remotely regal was when she's wearing this corduroy purple dress when her mother comes to visit. That's the only time where she looks expensive, where she actually looks like, okay, yeah, she's actually a princess and she's not just chatting shit. And then also with the specialist costume, when you compare it to the source material, it looked really lame. It looked like Hunger Games Halloween costumes. It just kind of seems like they didn't put much effort. They just went on Fruit of Loom and just put a print on it. So it's just very low effort to me. Like, the only person who actually was remotely dressed well pretty much the whole season was Beatrix. She had some pretty decent outfits. I feel like Beatrix was the best dressed in the season. So for me, it was just combobulating that Beatrix was dressed decently, but the Winx girls weren't. So yeah, so I feel like there's a lot of discrepancy here, and I really can't put my finger on it, because from the way that Beatrix is dressed, they are capable of dressing them decently but chose not to. So I'm thinking, does Beatrix have her own stylist? Does Beatrix refuse to come out the trailer room in the messy ass outfits they have prepared to her? I want to know where the discrepancy is, because for me it doesn't really make sense. But I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts were on the outfits. For me, the wardrobe was a big disappointment, and if anything needs to improve, it definitely needs to be the wardrobe. I can't understand how someone was hired to make this and was actually paid. The thing is, for me, either they have been given a very horrible mood board to work with, or they have been very lazy. But now, moving on to the hair. The hair was also another issue for me, because most of the time, across the board, the hair just looked very messy. And at first I was kind of thinking, maybe that's just how it is. They're fighting all the, you know, they're going on all these adventures, so maybe that's just why their hair is messy all the time. But then you'd see other characters, you know, the headmaster's hair seemed to always seem to be uniform. Beatrix's hair was always on point. So I just couldn't, so it was just really confusing to me how the Winx girl's hair was always looking so messy. Aisha's hair was a problem for me this season. It was really upsetting to me to see some of the hairstyles that they had her in. I feel like the first thing to point out is that her braids clearly were not fresh. I used to wear braids, and I used to wear leave-out braids as well. And when you're having synthetic leave-out braids, eventually the synthetic hair is going to go stiff. And you could see that, you know, the hair was stiff, and it'd been like that for a while. So I was just kind of thinking, like, didn't you see the hair and think, okay, it's time to send her to a braider because she needs a fresh head? And that's why sometimes like her edges would just be like so forward, because you could tell they're trying to cover up the fact that she needs a fresh set of braids. So for me, that was very lazy that they didn't give her fresh braids. And then some of the experimentation that they had with her hair, it just kind of felt so extra. And sometimes you get that where people are just so extra with black hair because they're just excited, and it's like, it doesn't have to be like that. Like, you know, when her hair was back, it looked decent. They could have done, you know, one up the top, one at the side, but there was this one particular hairstyle where it literally just looked atrocious, absolutely atrocious. And it was, they must have like pushed the braid all the way up, so it kind of looked like a swoop at the back. So it was like camera here, swoop, and then they braided everything at the back into some massive plait, and it just looked so weird and awkward and bad. And I was just like, I know this hair artist is definitely not a black person, because no black person would let her go out like this. And this is why it's very important that we need to diversify hair teams, because that clearly was not a black person that was doing her hair. It just kind of, it made me upset. It made me upset because I feel like this happens a lot, especially with Netflix productions, that it just seems like the black character's hair is always looking a mess. And it's getting very disappointing and frustrating at this point. And I do think more black hairstylists need to be hired, or people who have in their portfolio that they are competent at doing black hair at the very least, because it's getting a bit ridiculous now. Bloom, her hair was just, Bloom, sometimes her hair would look alright, but then there was some episodes where like they just didn't even bother to like tie her hair up cleanly. Like the bun would be messy, the parting of when they would do like the kind of side part updo would just be everywhere. Like it wasn't uniform, particularly when they went to that party. Bloom's hair was looking a mess. Everyone's hair was looking a mess. And it wasn't even after the party that the hair was looking a mess. The hair was looking a mess from the beginning. Stella, her hair was looking very flat. The extensions that they had in her hair were looking very dry. Definitely not the extensions a princess would wear. And then Tara's hair, apart from when it looked a bit messy, her hair was actually pretty decent, to be honest. And then Musa, sometimes her buns would be a bit messy. But there definitely needs to be some changes in the hair team, because this hair was not good enough. And then again, you look at Beatrix. Beatrix's hair was always laid. Beatrix's hair will always look nice. So my thing is, why does Beatrix look nice and the Winx girls don't? Did Beatrix decide to do her own hair? Like, this is what I'm kind of confused about. Raven's hair kind of annoyed me a bit because it was just like messy all the time. And then also Sky's hair. Sky's hair, sometimes like it would look fine, and then sometimes it'd just be like really awkward. Like it would be like swooped over, but then there'd be like a stray piece over there, and like I really just wanted to go through the screen and just scoop it over. And it's just like, why? Why is that hair there? It's annoying me. So yeah, I feel like I could have done a better job with Sky's hair and also Raven's hair as well. There needs to be some changes with the hair team. And then moving on to the makeup. For the most part, the makeup was pretty basic, very natural-esque like, but there were some instances where the makeup looked really bad. Sometimes when they do like close up to Aisha's makeup, the makeup was not looking great on her skin. Like that they put the blush on just didn't really sit right with her skin. And sometimes the lipstick that they put on her wasn't the best for her skin tone. Sometimes you could see the eyebrows sweating off. For Bloom particularly, sometimes you see her eyebrows sweating off. And then what else? And then when they went to the party and they tried to do kind of Euphoria-esque makeup, it just was not hitting. It just did not. It just was not serving. Aisha's eyeshadow, blue eyeshadow, looked an absolute mess. The pigment was a mess. It didn't even suit her skin tone. So it's like you're using makeup and it doesn't even suit dark people's skin tone. An absolute mess. And then on Musa, you could just see the line was just not very precise. And if you're hiring a professional makeup artist, I would expect the makeup to be precise, especially when you're doing stylized makeup. And then I guess I already talked about the outfits, but then it's like they're trying to do stylized makeup, but then the outfits just don't even match the makeup. So yeah, overall, the wardrobe was a bit of a mess. It was a bit of a disappointment to me, and it's definitely one of the things that needs to be changed and improved if this season is to continue. If this, if this show is going to continue. I believe they've already filmed season 2, so season 2 we can probably expect the same. But season 3, if it gets to that point, there needs to be a rehaul, because I feel like this is unacceptable. If you're paying people to be this basic, it's unacceptable. Honestly, the people who got paid to do this are laughing because they were actually paid to do below the bare minimum, and I would love to have a job like this. But yeah, we need to do better. That's just my opinion. I'd be interested to hear from you guys. Do you think that the fashion sense was okay, or do you feel like it does need improvement? I've seen a lot of people say maybe it's basic because it's meant to be more realistic, but there's plenty of realistic shows out there that manage to dress people decently. So I feel like that's just a bit of an excuse. That's just a bit of an excuse there. But like I said, feel free to talk to me about it in the comments. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of this video. I have filmed another video on what I thought of the whole season as a whole. So if you want to check that out, I'll link that at the end of this video. You might as well subscribe. And if you do, don't forget to put my notification bell on so you know when my next content is coming out. I'm also trying to get to 2.7k subscribers. That's my next short-term goal. And I'd appreciate if you help me out with that. And thank you to everybody who has subscribed to my channel so far. Till next time, guys. Bye.